Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to help you get the Zettelkasten of your dreams on your work table beside you. Well, today's video answers a question from Thorin. Thorin wants to know, I was wondering, how do you know where to place a new card if the thought can cover 2 or more areas? Now, first of all, I am very thrilled, Thorin, that you said if a thought can cover 2 or more areas. Because if your problem with the main card you just created is that it has 2 thoughts that could go in 2 different areas, then that's a different answer. In that case, you just break it up and make 2 main cards, put one where the one thought goes and one where the other thought goes. But that's not your question. Your question is, what do you do if the main thought on the card could go in 2 different places, 2 different areas? Well, I've got an example set up to show you exactly how I handle it. So come on over to the down-facing camera and I'll show you. Okay, I have an example here that I hope will provide a good illustration of what we're talking about, having a card that could easily go in 2 different directions. In this case, the card is talking about attribution, where you indicate the source of the information that you've gathered. Of course, it's a very important part of scientific writing, but it's also a very important part of thesis writing. And that is how this card ends up trying to go into 2 different places. The place I actually chose for it was this one, where it went with a scientific paper, going with a quote by Paul Hauser about how a scientific paper, a well-written paper, is like a poem, densely packed and possibly full of nonverbal wisdom. That was my thought reflection to Paul's quote. And so a scientific paper is certainly one of the areas where attribution is very important. So these 2, the association just shows up in the card number, and the conversation just simply appears because they're adjacent to one another in the Zettelkasten. However, this card could equally have gone with this card on thesis writing, because attribution is as much a part of thesis writing as it is about creating a scientific paper. But now, how do I indicate that these 2 cards go together? Well, I have to do it in 2 different directions. First of all, I create a directory card that has the same number as the card I'm placing. It has the same tagline as well, but here in the directory area, it shows a link to this other card that could have been its alternate parent. So this side is linked up. Now I need to show that this card links back over to this one. But this card is not alone. He already has a 2A1 and a 2A2 beneath him, and he already has a directory card that shows those other 2 cards. So this is actually a very simple one then. All I need to do is add another directory reference that points to this card, and now this card has the full conversation that this card relates to. This one has the full conversation that it relates to, and these 2 share a conversation just by being next to one another. Okay, Thorin, I hope that answers your question. If not, please post a follow-up question in the comments, and I will take another stab at it. Directory cards can be very useful for a number of things, and this is a prime example of when a directory card comes in very, very handy. So thank you for your question, and I hope your Zettelkasten is coming right along. I look forward to seeing you on other calls. Bye-bye.